As a detective, you prepare yourself for anything, but no amount of preparation can ready you for a case like this. It was a clear January afternoon. They were a young family living in Florida. By nightfall, their world would shatter. Nathan arrived home at 3:30 p.m. Denise's car was in the driveway, but she hadn't answered his calls. The doors were locked, the house silent, her phone by the door, keys and purse untouched. Denise was gone. Their two young boys, just 2 years and 6 months old, were home alone. After tending to his children, he calls his wife's dad. Had he heard from her? No. Alerted to the oddity of the situation, he rushed over and was waiting for the police to arrive, keen to start the search for his missing daughter. A neighbor had spotted a green Camaro circling the area. Later, it pulled into Nathan's driveway, the driver calm and unremarkable. But his presence would soon take on a chilling significance. This description of the Camaro became our first lead. We put out an alert, knowing every minute counted, but it wasn't until 6:14 p.m. that we got our first breakthrough. Denise called 911. The details of this call would haunt us all. She had somehow managed to grab her abductor's phone and dial for help. Her bravery in that moment was extraordinary, pretending to talk to him. Her words were haunting. As the call handler tried to get information, in the background you could hear a man's voice, country music blaring from the car radio. We knew she was in grave danger, but we didn't know where to find her, and she didn't know where she was. We received another call that evening from a woman named Jane. She'd seen a child, or so she thought, banging on a green Camaro's window, screaming for help. Denise was 5'1". In the darkness, she could have been mistaken for a child. But due to a mix-up between jurisdictions, the call wasn't relayed to the right officers in time. We were already racing against the clock when another call came in, this time from a young woman named Sabrina. Her words added a new, disturbing layer to the case. She recounted to the call handler that her dad's cousin had turned up at their house with an unknown girl in the car. The girl tried to get out, but he put her back inside. Sabrina was extremely hesitant. Fearful of causing problems within the family, however, she described the vehicle, a green Camaro, and gave us a name, Michael. Her information confirmed our worst fears. Not only was Michael the registered owner of the Camaro, but it was also his phone that Denise had used to make her desperate 911 call. Officers rushed to his address, hoping to catch him before he disappeared again. The house was eerily quiet outside, but a television blared inside, and a neighbor confirmed that Michael still lived there. Time was slipping away, and we couldn't afford to wait, so ordered the officers to make entry. The house was almost empty, barren of everyday comforts and empty walls, but not untouched. The living room was bare except for a TV and a few scattered items. In the bedroom, on the floor, a makeshift bed and duct tape, its edges frayed, with strands of hair still clinging to it. Our fears deepened at these signs that something sinister had happened. Whoever had been here had been held against their will. Denise's presence was everywhere, but she was nowhere to be found. We now knew that Michael was capable of unimaginable cruelty, and Denise was still out there, in desperate need of rescue. Every moment counted now. This wasn't just about catching Michael, it was about saving Denise. The evidence in that house showed us what kind of man we were dealing with, and we couldn't stop until we found her. Hours later, on Interstate 75, a trooper spotted the headlights of a mid-90s Camaro. It matched the alert. Would this be the moment we found Denise, or the evidence of something far worse? He told me later how his heart pounded as he stomped the gas and pulled behind the vehicle. It was heading south, weaving through the dim glow of the orange streetlights. Everything lined up, the car, the tag, the driver. It was him, Michael, the man we believed had Denise in his clutches. But was she still alive? Was she even in the car? The trooper couldn't tell. The windows were dark, and the possibility she was tied up or hidden in the trunk loomed. Inside, he found damning evidence, a shovel, duct tape, and strands of long brown hair. But there was no sign of Denise. In custody, Michael was infuriatingly evasive. He spun story after story, each more absurd than the last, as if he could outwit us with lies. His demeanor was maddening, calm, detached, and utterly unrepentant. Every word he spoke felt like a mockery of the gravity of what he had done, heightening our desperation to uncover the truth and bring Denise home. 2 days later, our search ended in heartbreak. Denise's body was found in a shallow grave, just miles from her desperate call. The medical examiner later testified that Denise Lee died from a single gunshot wound to the head, a senseless act of cruelty that devastated her family and our community. Now, dear listener, while the officer recounting this tale is fictional, the story itself is not. This is the real and devastating account of Denise Amber Lee, a mother whose bravery and tragic fate changed the system forever. Michael King was a 38-year-old man at the time of Denise Amber Lee's murder. He moved to Northport, Florida, around 6 years prior, after a divorce, and worked as a plumber before quitting his job. Denise Amber Lee was a 21-year-old mother of 2 young boys. She lived in Northport, Florida with her husband, Nathan Lee. Denise was a devoted stay-at-home mom, focused on raising her children while her husband worked multiple jobs to support the family financially. Michael King was convicted of Denise Amber Lee's murder and sentenced to death. But no verdict or punishment could ever fill the void Denise's loss created. Denise's family had to face an unimaginable reality of the many mistakes made by the people trying to find her. Her husband, Nathan Lee, became a vocal advocate for changes in emergency response systems across the country. In memory of Denise, the Lee family founded the Denise Amber Lee Foundation. The foundation works tirelessly to improve the training of 911 dispatch operators, ensuring that mistakes like the one that delayed Denise's rescue never happen again. They pushed through legislation, the Denise Amber Lee Act, mandating certification and standardized training for all 911 operators across Florida. This tragedy became a wake-up call for those in law enforcement. It's a reminder that behind every call answered, every investigation pursued, there's a person whose life and story matter. Denise's story isn't just one of loss, it's a call to action. Her legacy reminds us that even in our darkest moments, courage can spark change, and every life has the power to make a difference.